Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Brother Edward.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. You're viewing the Whittemore Community Magazine, Hour of Power, right here streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. If you got our promotion, you know what to press on, know what to click on. If not, Sister April can give it back to you during the broadcast. Is that right, Sister April?
If they're on Facebook, they're watching us, and if they're on YouTube, they're watching us.
Right. So we want to welcome our viewers today, and wow, we're just trying to stay up on this COVID-19 virus and how it impacts not just transportation but education. And last week, as most of you know, you had Brother Brown, Darrell Brown, who was from the district office of Oregon District Office, and he gave us some good information that we thought was valuable. However, there's always more information and come from a different perspective. So today we want to offer that different perspective, and it's coming from the Oregon School Board and not just the district office. So we want to make sure that you're getting everything that's out there in terms of openings, closings, and any adjustments or modifications that were made or that are going to be made probably between now and the proposed opening date of our school system, which is September 8th. I don't know if that still stands, but we'll certainly find out from our special guest today. But first of all, let's pay homage and send our well wishes and our condolences out to our sick and shut in, especially our sick and shut in. And we usually start by local jurisdiction: Allentown, Aner,
Ayboro,
Bucksport. You know, we get to our capital later on, but you all should know what the capital is. You're looking at the capital: Carvers
Bay, Bucksport, Bucksville.
Yeah, Chapee, Paul's Island, Merle's Inlet,
Poplar, Wampee, Longs, Little River.
Absolutely, Big River.
Yeah, Plantersville, Maryville, Jackson Village.
Jackson Village. Jacksonville, Andy Village. So, Maryland,
you want to shout out some states that are tuning in as well that aren't in the local jurisdiction?
Right. Yeah. DC, Maryland. Okay, Baltimore. Yeah. Prince George's County, Maryland.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Richmond, Virginia. Halleck, Virginia. Okay, Petersburg, Virginia. All my brothers out there and sisters out there. North Carolina, Asheville, Charlotte. They're tuning in. That's going up the Mid-Atlantic. Of course, New York is always tuning in. New Jersey, Delaware. So get back to our local jurisdiction. We got to just pay homage to all the known sick and shut in. Okay, and that's local. So we want to just continue with Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. In fact, up to Tabor City and Charlotte, North Carolina. A lot of our communicating neighbors there. Green Sea, Loris.
Keep on going. You're doing well. I'm trying to get us connected. Keep on going.
Keep on going.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the spotlight on you. As a matter of fact, go ahead and do what you got to do.
In fact, it's only and not just a few more, but there are a lot of counties in South Carolina. But as it turns out now, since we've been broadcasting, we've gotten a hit from all over the place. So, and most of South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, and just to maintain local recognition, we're like, did we say Georgetown? Did we say Hemingway? Burgess. Now, if anybody wants to chat and send us something, a message via email or whatever to tell us what the capital of Conway is, please feel free to do so. no time. We will get to that point where we're going to start giving out prizes for naming the capital of Conway. But anyway, and to all of those that we didn't mention, we certainly regret that. But please be mindful that we got you in mind, and condolences and our well wishes to you all also. So today we want to continue on with our educational impact with the COVID-19 virus. And just let me mention just briefly that, on Fridays, we could say this at the last, but at the same time, since we're talking about COVID-19, on Friday on the network is really an extensive view, an extensive statistical deliberation by Dr. McIver, who comes, and I'm telling you, man, this man gives you some valuable information. But having said that, April, could we start with our guest? And
yeah, you were on a roll. Go ahead and introduce Ms. Graham. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that we had some kind of a delay with this platform. So I just want to make sure we're connected everywhere. So if you'll go ahead and open it up and introduce our guest, we can go ahead and get started in just a moment. Go ahead.
Yes, indeed, our guest. I'm going to let the guest tell you a little bit more, but in the meantime, I just want to give you the primary introduction of her, and she is our school board member. Been doing a miraculous job. I'll say miraculous in view of all she has to put up with, and she keeps getting reelected, so she must be doing something good. So our special guest is Miss Janet Graham. And hi, Ms. Graham. How are you? And she's an illustrious school board member. And we want to welcome her to our platform today. And hopefully she's going to give us a good insight from her perspective from a school board member on whatever issues that our audience really need to hear more about, because we did get some last week, but I'm sure from your perspective, it's going to be adding some more anyway. So, Ms. Graham, if you'd like to, for those of us who don't know her, but I doubt it, everybody knows her. But for those of us who don't know, Ms. Graham, if you want to just introduce yourself, we're certainly glad to do that.
Okay, be glad to, and thank you so much for letting me share this time with you guys. I really appreciate it. Always a pleasure to be with you and to get the word out to our community. Can you hear me pretty good?
Yeah, well, I can. And you, the host?
I can hear.
All right. To introduce myself really quickly, I'm Janet Graham. I am on the school board. I've been there since 2012, and I serve District 7, which is Conway and Carolina Forest. And I'm happy to serve. The job it's daunting sometimes. It seems like every year we get a little bit more and more entrenched in different kinds of issues, which is good. And I do need to hear from my constituents to kind of know what you're feeling about things so that I can share that with my fellow board members and kind of know how you would like for me to maneuver through things. So if at any time anybody has any questions or you aren't sure about anything, that's why we're there. And you have a couple of other representatives for Conway besides myself, which is Neil James and Shanda Allen. But normally, for the most part, Conway is my area, and that's where I concentrate, although I do share it with Carolina Forest. So do you want me just to jump in?
Well, before you jump in, I'd like to remind everyone that you are welcome to join this conversation by posting your questions or comments. We definitely want you to post your questions and anything that you feel you'd like for our guests to follow up on as a result of the conversation that we started last week. Of course, as a reminder, just like Brother Edward said, we had Darryl Brown from the Horry County School District Office, and Janet is bringing her perspective, which is a little different because she is on the Board of Education. So she is a board member for the Horry County School District. And what we're going to learn today is that there's a how do you say this? There's an organizational structure that the Horry County School District follows, and within that organizational structure is the protocol for how decisions are made. And so we're going to learn that today, and then also talk about what's going on with the reopening plans for Conway. So please post your questions. Don't be shy, and we will moderate all questions and comments as much as possible. She's here to give us her insight on some things.
Okay. And with that being said, I wanted to go back and say that I am a Conway native, born and bred, been here all my life, not going anywhere. So,
well, congratulations to you,
sir.
Congratulations.
That's right. That's right. No better place to be. Conway's where it is. So I asked our host and co-host if I could maybe give a little tutorial, I guess, on how the board works, because I don't think it's that intuitive for most people how the board works in conjunction to the actual school district. So if you would just give me a couple of minutes to kind of show it. Miss April has a schematic that I wanted to share, and if you give me a few minutes to kind of go through that, I think it would help. It helped me to kind of understand. And this is very simple, something I put together myself. So when you look at it, the Horry County Schools is like a corporation. Like a business corporation. And with that, you have to have checks and balances. So the superintendent can't just go out and do whatever he wants. There has to be a check on him to make sure that he's complying by the rules. The board can't go out and do whatever they want. There are policies that have to be followed. The superintendent's chief officers can't do whatever they want. They have to answer to the board and to the superintendent. So there's like a pecking order, or the schematic shows how I don't want to say how the power is distributed, but how things are done and how the decisions flow up and down. It's kind of like a two-way street. And in the middle of it is the superintendent, who is Dr. Rick Maxey. And he is like the chief executive officer for this so-called corporation, which is Horry County Schools. Okay. On top of Dr. Maxey is the school board. And the school board, there are 11 of us who are elected by districts. And then we have a chair who is elected at large, district-wide. So each of us come together and we make decisions on policy. And also we have a responsibility to make sure that a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the funds are used properly, that we have enough money to do what we need to do. And the board also has the responsibility to hire and fire the superintendent. We also do a review of him every year, annually, and we provide support. And again, the major things that we do is policy, and I'll talk about that later. And we have a responsibility to make sure that the money, which is about $684 million, is used correctly. We also provide oversight to make sure that all the controls that are in place are there and that they're working right, and that we deliver on the promises that we make to the community. We also, again, have to make sure that we have enough schools, we have adequate resources, that we have enough schools, we have enough teachers, that we have enough resources to take care of this corporation. Another thing that we do is make sure that Horry County Schools has a positive image. And the board also assesses its own performance. So we have to assess how we're doing as a board. So that's just some of the things that the board does. Now, when we come down the line, the board is responsible for policy. The superintendent is responsible for everything else. He oversees all of the Horry County School District. Everything comes up under the superintendent. As such, he has what we call chief officers. And those chief officers, Mr. Brown, who was here last week, he is one of those chief officers. And the chief officers each have a specific segment of the district that they're responsible for Horry County Schools. We have a finance chief officer, who is John Gardner. We have someone who is over academics, or all things education, and that is Ms. Boone Myrick. We have Mr. Darrell Brown, like I said, who was here last week, and he is over all of the support services. He has a huge responsibility, as they all do. We have policy and legal, which is Attorney Kenny Jennerett. It says Kelly, but that's Kenny. I'm sorry, my typo. And we have student services, which is Miss Velma Allen. And then we have human resources, which is Mary Anderson. So in a nutshell, that's how it looks. And everything is the way we work is, let's say the last time the board met, we made a policy change, and that's one of the big things that the board does. So when we met on July 13th, we had to discuss and analyze if we would or should change the policy and what that should look like. And what we did was, the policy that we changed was the school start date, because it's set, we have a policy and a procedure that school starts at a certain time every year, which is like the third week in August. And so we had to come together as a board based on the information that the superintendent and his chief officers and the stakeholders provided us. Then the board discusses it, they ask questions, and then we vote on whether or not we should make that policy change. And that's what we did at the last meeting. We have a meeting coming up on the 3rd, which is Monday coming, and we're going to be looking at more information that's been given to us from stakeholders about how schools should look this school year. We're going to gather more information on that and determine if we're going to, how the children are going to go back to school. Is it going to be face-to-face as it traditionally has been? Is it going to be a hybrid model, or is it going to be virtual? So those are the things that some of the things that we do, and that's some of the things that we have on the table right now. And I hope that helps a little. Does that make any sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. At least the organization chart points to a direction for which, if someone wants information, those particular people regarding the issue that they want to converse on, those particular people are the ones that are there. Help telephone numbers probably would have been helpful, but.
Well, I thought about it, but everything, I hate to repeat what was repeated last week, but everything is on the website. And I hate to inundate people, but I can put that in the chart. If Ms. April wants to share that with people, I can go back. I'll be glad to put that in.
Well, I think the website, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think the website would be probably more convenient for them too.
Yeah. Can I add in there too, I'm sorry, that a lot of people like to start with the board when they have questions or issues, or my child didn't get promoted like I thought they should. Well, the first place to start is with the school, because each principal is like the CEO of their particular school. Whatever happens or doesn't happen in that school is through the principal. So the principal is is it in that school. So first you go to the teacher. If you can't resolve it with the teacher, then you go up the chain. And the principal has to say so in that school. If it can't be resolved with the principal, that's when you go up to the district office, to these different chief officers. And then we go to the superintendent, and then it may come to the board. But, if there's a big super issue that, something's going on in the community, feel free to email me. And what I do is I share that with the superintendent, and he divvies it out to whatever chief officer or department that needs to have it. But then I know about it, so that's a good thing.
That's in a nutshell then, in terms of communication. So I'm sure the audience can appreciate that. Do you or does the board itself proclaim to be the decision maker in terms of if the budget is inadequate, which over a duration of time, can you make amendments to say we need more money? So during this course of the year, you can make an amendment or request it from whomever is in charge of dispensing money. You have that authority to do that. Is that easy to get, or is that a challenge when you do things like that? Or have you done it before?
Well, we receive our funds from taxes that are paid through Horry County. Right. And also we receive funds from the state. And we also receive federal funds, depending on what the program is or what's going on. So we have our finance officer who, Mr. Gardner, who's awesome. And every year he provides us, and throughout the year, financial information that we have to look through, disseminate, make sure that it's correct, ask questions. If something doesn't look right, we get on, and we also have auditors that come in and help us to understand what's going on. But normally for the last several years, the budget doesn't balance, just like your home budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't quite have enough money to make it, the end of the month. So you got to borrow something from over here. So we have a little fund that we can take funds from to balance the budget.
Right.
And sometimes it's like $15 million or something like that. But we're dealing with, I think since I've been here, it used to be $500 million, about 500 million. Now we have a $684 million budget that we work with, that we're working with right now. And which is huge. Horry County is a huge district when you compare it to other districts in the state. So, that's one thing I wanted to share with our listeners is when we get this information about other counties, make sure we're comparing apples to apples. Because, I saw on the news that Florence District 2, I believe, they were saying they were going to have school and they were going to have it face-to-face. But Florence District 2 only has like 500 students, if I've got that right. Horry County Schools has 45,500 students.
Just Horry County.
Just Horry County. So when we try to compare what a district in Florence can do compared to Horry County, we have to be very careful that we are comparing the same size district. So Horry County usually tries to work in conjunction with what Charleston is doing and what Greenville is doing. And we all kind of work together to make sure that we're covering all the bases and getting those 45,500 plus students and parents taken care of. Right.
So for let me just talk about emergency fund. Is that limited to a percentage that's laid out each year and say we got 10% of this, our budget will be emergency funds?
Yes.
Are you at liberty to say what that amount is this year?
Absolutely. Everything about the board and the district is supposed to be transparent. That's why they put everything out on the website. And I have to commend Kenny Jenrett, who is over that. If something happens, he usually gets it out instantaneous. So there's nothing that's hidden. If anybody wants to know anything about the money, all of that is put on the website. Our annual reports, our quarterly reports, everything is available. And if you want the paper copy, you can have mine. But we have decided as a board so that we can remain financially solvent and take care of our needs and our fiduciary responsibility that we will maintain 15%. Okay. So it's kind of like we have a 15% of that $684 million. We have a 15%. If you want to call it a cushion, you can call it a cushion. But it also helps with our bond ratings, so that when we go, like if we're building schools, we're building the new alternative school. If we have to borrow a certain portion of that, then we may want to issue a bond. And with us having that cushion, it helps us with our bond rating to get a better rate.
Good, fantastic. I'm sure my sister April can do some follow up. April, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I just wanted to, if you will, for just a second, go back to that number when you were talking about comparing apples to apples. You said Florence District 2 has only 500 students, and Horry County has 45,000 students. So, I think I want to add some clarity to that, and that she's talking about one district in Florence's entire school district. Is that correct?
Well, I think Florence is broken up into maybe two, like Horry County is one Horry County school district. And I may be wrong, but I think Florence might do it a little differently. Mm-hmm. Some people, like Greenville, I think theirs may be broken up in a couple of different sections. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying when we compare, we've got to make sure we're comparing right. Because I heard it on the news the other night, and I'm like, how can how can they say that they're going to have face-to-face when the numbers have not dropped any? They're still going up. And then when I listened more closely, they gave more information, and I thought I heard them say they had 500 students in that district.
Okay, so the other district, I'm sure, comprises far more than 500 students for Florence.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But they're like Pamplico, some of those Johnson, those places like that. There may be a part of that district. I don't know how they've got it divvied up, that they're talking about they can go back and have regular school. But yeah, they can social distance because we got elementary schools that have way more than 500 students. So, that's what I'm saying. Let's be careful when we get this information that we do realize how huge Horry County Schools is.
Okay, all right.
And not just try to follow what every other
district or school is doing. All right. Just want to acknowledge some of our viewers today. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a researcher in the house, Amanda Butler. She says Florence is broken into different districts, 1, 2, 3, whatever. So yeah, you're right. Because that number, that 500 number, of course, common sense will tell you that they have far more than 500 students. Carlos Parker, he's like, right, compare apples to apples. We have a couple of questions that are coming in, and we'll get to the questions in just a moment. Thank you for listening, DJ Dr. Ice. We appreciate you listening in today. Helen Porterfield, thank you, Ms. Porterfield, for joining us today as well. Of course, we have Jasmine Carter Floyd and the McIvers, Dr. McIver and Ms. Marjorie McIver. We appreciate all of you for being here. And of course, I know the main reason why a lot of people are tuning in is because we're trying to do a follow-up to some of the questions from last week, especially the ones that Mr. Brown could not answer because they were outside of his purview. But, from a school board perspective, I think we should just start with how the decisions are made. And you've kind of touched upon that as far as, the things that you have to consider. I'm sure budget is a big part of it, because when you talk about segmenting the return of school into online and hybrid classes and using social distancing, a lot of things come into play, especially the use of facilities. There's no way possible to take a classroom that typically has 30 students and only expect that, you can have, maybe less than 10 in a class on any given day, and then have enough space to accommodate everybody else throughout the district. So, when it comes down to the space issues, should there be a push to return to in-person schooling at some point? Will we have enough space and have enough accommodations to logistically do that and remain safe for our students?
Okay, that's a lot of question, April.
That's a lot of question. It is.
All right. Let me say that again, this is a huge county, and we're working with several different moving pieces to make sure that we're not leaving anybody out, because it's a diverse county. Okay, we got very rich people, we got very poor people. So we're trying to make sure that nobody's left out. Before I even try to answer that question, I would want to say that we need to understand that we have not made any decision yet as to how we are going to go back to school in the fall. We have not. The only decision the board has made
is a date.
We're going to start on September 8th. That was a change.
Okay.
We are still gathering information from that task force that was put together by the superintendent, who is the CEO. And his task force consists of a lot of stakeholders around the county, and even outside, sometimes I think, of the county. Parents, students, teachers, health professionals, you name it, they're in there helping to make these decisions, along with these chief officers. So we've got information from that task force, and they presented that to us at our last board meeting, and it was like 50 some pages of condensed information of what the task force was presenting to us on equity that you have financial equity among people who can't afford Wi-Fi, that they have access to it, stuff like that. Health and safety, that the education is right. Every part of that, what was it? Logistics, how they're going to get there. Everything was thought through. Plus, that's the task force. Then we're getting information from the South Carolina DHEC, the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. We're also coordinating with the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. Okay, so all of these are giving us information, and we're getting data to decide how we should start. I think for the most part, everybody, but at the same time, while we're saying we have those three options like virtual, hybrid, or traditional, I think most people realize that right now it would be ludicrous for us to try to go to traditional with the numbers being what they are.
Okay, so that's one thing we can establish is that you're probably 98 or 99.9% sure that we're not going to go to the traditional format.
That's what my common sense is telling me.
Okay.
But you know, I can't speak when the group gets together and we
dynamics can change.
Yes. But based on what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, I don't see that happening right now because the numbers don't support it. The science doesn't support it. The data does not support that. Okay. And I'll just put a pin in that. We're saying, and we've been, I guess, conditioned to say that the numbers need to flatten. I think we hit 80,000 today, 80,000 positive.
Something like that.
Okay, so if we flatten that, that means that we've still got 80,000. That, you know, I'm not a mathematical genius, but I think the curve needs to go down before we can be considering sending these children back into any kind of traditional environment, even hybrid, because with hybrid, there's going to have to be some interaction. They're going to have to distance themselves. And the younger you are, the harder it is to distance students. So to me, the numbers need to come down.
Need to reduce.
Not flatten, come down. What was it? I've lost my place.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you're doing just fine.
You're doing good.
Yeah. So I think just trying to establish some expectations for everyone is what we need to do at this point, because, you know, when I hear you say we do not yet have a solid plan as to how we're going to do it, considering it is, what is today? July 27th? Yeah, July 27th. And, you know, I think people think that we have a lot of time when we say we're pushing it back to September 8th. We really don't. So what will it take for the school board to make more solid decisions? I mean, the science isn't going to change. I don't think it is. And based upon what we hear on Fridays with our COVID-19 updates, we're still going to continue to see increases. You know, when are we going to come to a point where the school board says, okay, you know, we already know that it is what it is, so here's what we're going to do? What do you think it takes to get to that point?
Okay, we have a meeting on Monday, August 3rd at 6 o'clock. And we have been doing those meetings virtually, but now they want to meet down at the district office. I'm going to try to still do it virtually because to me, I think it's too early. So if you want to tune in, I would encourage everybody to please tune in and to the board meeting, because you can do it, you know, from anywhere. So at that meeting, at the last meeting we had, those the chief officers and the task force, they brought us a lot of information. So we've been analyzing that information to try to make a decision on how to move forward. When we come to the meeting on next Monday, they're going to give us updated information as to what's changed from the 13th to now and what we need to be aware of when we make that final decision. At the board meeting, that's where we have our open discussion, we ask questions, and we gather more information so that we can make an intelligent decision as a group. When we leave that meeting on Monday, we will have made a decision to finalize the plan that the task force is giving us. And when we finalize that plan, the superintendent is going to take that plan and give it to the state superintendent, Ms. Molly Spearman. She's collecting all the plans from all of the 80-some districts around the state. She has to approve what we want to do or what we're proposing to do. I feel confident that in the plan, we're going to propose that, based on the numbers, we're either going to do all virtual, we're going to do hybrid, or we're going to do traditional. So, but she has to look at the entire plan of what we plan to do and what we've come up with, and she has to approve it. When we get that we're going to send that to her probably on Tuesday, the 4th. She'll approve it, and then when we get it approved, we can start putting everything in place. But again, nothing has been set yet.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what.
Yeah.
It's good for people to verbalize. I will not send my child back if the numbers continue to look like they look. They need to share that information with the powers that be. I prefer that my child have virtual education if the numbers are X, Y, Z. If I'm a teacher, I'm not going back into the classroom unless the numbers they skydive, they plummet. So those are the kinds of things that we need to know and understand, and we are working with that. We've gotten some of that from our constituency, but again, we have not made a final determination or decision yet because we can't yet. We don't have all the numbers yet. And we've got to, but the number one thing now is we've got to get that plan to the superintendent. And we're not the state superintendent.
To state superintendent. And hopefully that won't take long as far as her, Spearman making the decision.
I checked today, and
our viewers are taking this very carefully. I just certainly hope that they're listening very carefully because this is some very good information to help prepare parents and teachers and students, like the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to really commend the school district and Dr. Maxey because they have worked since school let out. They have worked all summer on nothing but this. This is what they live, eat, and breathe. Okay, so they are looking at this. They're looking at all the moving parts. They're working with other districts, working with everybody to try to make sure that we're thinking through as many scenarios
yeah,
as we can, so that we can deal with it now rather than trying to be reactive if it happens later.
Mm-hmm.
So they've done a tremendous job. By no means do we have all the answers, but we have a great plan, and that will be delivered again to the state superintendent. I asked today, I found out that out of the 80-some districts in the state, she's only approved about 6 so far, so we're not late. Nobody has theirs in, but usually you wait until after the board meets and they approve that plan, and then you can forward it up to the state superintendent.
This task force, I know you talked about the fact that it's comprised of a lot of different types of people. Is there a transparency report as far as who's on the task force, and what do you know about the diversity of the task force?
April, you ask great questions. That's the beauty of being a host, right? Everything is transparent. I'm looking at it on my other laptop right now, on the Horry County Schools website. Mm-hmm. It's called Horry County HCS Reopening Task Force Updates. So if you go to the main page, I think you can hit Task Force Updates, and it'll take you to the latest and greatest updates that are out there.
Okay.
Everything that we know, you know. With the exception of maybe a few things that the board is privy to, but for the most part, everything is out there. That 51-page task force report that we went through and studied for our July 13th meeting, mm-hmm. all of that is out there. What each one of those divisions reported and what they recommend is out there. However, everything is subject to change because this is a moving target. Mm. You know? And what I'm telling you today, it might be different tomorrow because things are changing. So that's why they put it out as soon as they can. And the information is the best that we have, the most up to date, as quickly as we can get it.
Okay.
Oh, and the diversity of it you asked about. Mm-hmm. Again, and that's out there too. They went by different geographic areas. They have students on it. They've got teachers. They've got stakeholders from the community, like there may be advisory board people on there from the schools. We've got health professionals on there, an array of different kinds of people who represent different parts of the Horry County Schools District.
Do you know how they were chosen?
I did know, but it's escaping me now.
Okay.
I could probably find that out for you. I know Dr. Maxey was instrumental in that, I think. But specifically, I couldn't tell you that right now.
Okay.
And I'll have to look into. If you'll make me a list of stuff, I'll try to get you an answer.
I know you will. So, well, we've, moved into about 45 minutes. So that's how quickly time goes by. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and answer some of the questions that have been posted to our Facebook and YouTube threads, and also questions that are coming in. Brother Edward, I don't know if you're getting text messages, but my phone's blowing up.
Yeah,
so, and that'll give Sister Janet a minute to catch her breath and get something to drink or whatever the case is. I'm big on, keeping your whistle wet. So, but we'll come right back after we do a little commercial break and continue this conversation. So everybody stick around. We have not gotten to the good stuff. We just had a couple of side bits. All right, we will be right back. For all of your insurance needs, home, auto, and life, see how it feels to be on a #1 team with Tony McAfee of State Farm Insurance. Call Tony at 843-903-7800 or visit him at 3888 Renee Drive in Myrtle Beach. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Looking to start a new career? Train to work in Myrtle Beach. Class is starting soon. Free to eligible participants. Short-term, 3 weeks or less in hospitality, culinary, electrical, plumbing, and more at Horry Georgetown Technical College. There's more. Continuing education at 843-477-2020. Horry Georgetown Technical College, where there's more. Enjoy soul food the way your mama made it. You'll be surrounded by some of the best food in Horry County and affordable prices. Blue plate specials, senior plates, and more. Daily specials at Big Mike's Soul Food. Big Mike's Soul Food is located at 504 16th Avenue in Myrtle Beach. You can call your order in at 843-712-2048 or visit BigMikeSoulFood.net to find out about the latest specials. Big Mike's Soul Food. Soul food, the way your mama made it. Treating conditions from A to Z. Schedule an appointment today. Ask about acceptable insurance coverage at Waccamaw Primary Care, 660 Singleton Ridge Road, Conway, South Carolina. Dr. Winston D. McIver Jr., a trusted and reputable source in Horry County and beyond, has all you need for family practice and sports medicine. Call 843-234-4362 to schedule your appointment today. Waccamaw Primary Care, 660 Singleton Ridge Road, Suite A, Conway, South Carolina. 843-234-4362.
Yeah.
And we're back with the Whittemore Community Magazine live on Facebook. Brother Edward, are we going to go into our Black History moment, or what are we going to do? Just continue with the conversation?
Well, we'll continue then, but we'll take a break for our Black History whenever things will allow it. Well,
okay. All right. So,
she's waiting.
Say that again.
Oh yeah, she's waiting.
Okay. All right. So,
Be gentle.
we're going to go to the thread and just see what kinds of questions we have coming in. The first question, of course, I think has kind of sort of been answered. Is there a start date that we will know how we're returning to school? And so I think we've kind of answered that question, that after August 3rd, you'll have a better idea of what the plan is going to be. Is that correct?
Well, after August 3rd, we're sending our proposed options that we're looking at to the superintendent.
Okay.
And they're going to include those 3 options.
So you already know that these are the 3 options. That's how parents need to prepare.
Pretty much. Yeah. Because that's all there is. I mean, we got normal school the way we've always done it, right? We've got virtual the way we did it when we just got out of school at the end of this term. And then we have a new thing that's like a hybrid. So those are the 3 options that we're sending up with a lot of other information. And then once we get that back and look at the numbers, the way I'm understanding, unless they put it on the agenda this time, then we'll have to look at the numbers and decide how it's going to look. You know, how when September 8th comes, what's your child going to do? Is it going to be all virtual? We have to decide that as a board. Is it going to be a mix? We have to decide that as a board. Is it going to be traditional? We have to decide that as a board. But right now, we've got to get that entire plan to the superintendent for her, the state superintendent, for her to approve. And she'll say, yes, if the numbers if they're really horrible, then we've got to do virtual. And we know where to go with that, okay? If the numbers are going down, then maybe we could consider, if we've got a good plan in place for sanitation and distancing and all that, then we could run with that. And if everything is, the numbers are back to what they were in February of this year, normal school.
Okay, and that's wishful thinking. That's probably not going to happen, but not right now. I mean, not within.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, not in a few weeks. And then that goes into another question. What happens if the state superintendent doesn't approve the proposal?
My assumption would be that if the state superintendent doesn't approve that proposal, it has to come back down the chain. It's going to come back to our superintendent, who is the CEO of Horry County Schools, and he would address whatever the issues are in that she has with the plan, with his chief officers and with the task force.
Okay, all right.
But I do not anticipate that happening at all.
Okay, all right. And hope, I know you said that she has only pretty much approved plans or reviewed plans of 6 districts in the entire state. It sounds like a backlog. Do you know what the deal is and why it's taking her so long to go through those plans? Just wondering if she'll have it done by the time.
Oh yeah, she'll have it done.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is that, like, especially for a district of our size, it was so comprehensive. There's so many moving parts, so many what ifs, so many different scenarios to deal with within the plan, and making sure that we're covering all bases and doing the most that we can for the majority of our students. I think we just want to make sure that we have everything covered before we push it up there, so that when we get it back, we can hit the ground running. When we know which way we're going, we know what we're going to do, we got everything in place. I think it was just it's new and it's comprehensive. And like I say, some districts are really tiny. You know, if you've got 500 students, yeah, I could have mine to the superintendent and meet with the board already and it's done. But if you've got 45,500 and you got 6,000 employees, it's a little bit different. It looks different.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the employees, when will the teachers and other staff members be, or when are they expected to return to school? Will they, I'm sure it'll be after a decision is made, but the question that's come in, if the students return on the 8th, when will the teachers and other staff members be expected to return to school?
There's something that they've come out with called LEAP, which gives them 5 days ahead of the normal start date to address students who may have been behind at the end of the 2020 year, and address other students who any issues that we have with students. So there's 5 days ahead of September 8th that teachers are expected to, and I don't know if it's all teachers, I'm not quite sure, or just special, I think it's all, that they have to find out and assess how they're going to deal with those students who may have been behind or had special needs or whatever. So we've got those LEAP days. I think Mr. Brown talked about those LEAP days when he was here last week. Mm-hmm. And I know that they have those 5 days. They're doing some professional development during the summer, but they're doing that virtually. So I don't think they have to go ahead of that 5 days, but that's me. And that's getting down into the weeds part of that chart, that organizational chart. And I don't have all of that type of information. I apologize.
Okay. This question comes in, if the school district decides to do hybrid, but some parents want to do virtual, will they have that option?
Yes. The parents always have an option on how they want to educate, how the education is delivered to their children. What I would suggest is if they are considering virtual only, that they contact, I think there's a place on the website, Horry County Schools Virtual. They may also want to contact the principal at the school to make sure that they would have everything in place. But my other assumption is that once we get closer to that time, all of those options will be readily available to parents. Because I know there are some parents who are already saying, I'm not sending my child back in that environment, and I totally understand that.
Mhm.
So I'm all for starting as soon ahead of the start date as you can, if you know that's exactly what you want to do.
Has the Board of Education district office as well kind of forecasted about how many students could be impacted if the decision is to go virtual, and impacted in a way in terms of the technology or the digital components? So do you know what that, like the number of households that actually would have a hard time or a challenge meeting the virtual component at this time?
I'm sure they have those exact numbers. I couldn't tell you what they are, but I know that there are certain areas, like in my district, in District 7, in the Bucksport area, they have had some Wi-Fi issues during the last when we had virtual. So that's when HTC stepped up, and all over Horry County, they came in and they had like buses. We had buses that would go to the area and they would set up Wi-Fi and people could go there and do their work. So I know that there are spots around the county where we're providing Wi-Fi, and that reminds me, I've got to call somebody about that. HTC has stepped up and done a really good job of trying to assure that all children have access. But I'm sure even with that, there are probably some who don't have access because you've got to get to the spot. And again, I've got to call a lady and talk to her about that, because I think HTC had gotten some grant funds to help to do more going forward, but they're also looking for sponsorships. Okay. So if there's anybody out there that wants to work with HTC to sponsor so that these Wi-Fi gaps can be filled, contact me and I'll get you to it.
What about devices and computers? Once upon a time, the kids were, or the students were given iPads, for example, to take home. Will there be any devices or computers available for households that do not have these types of
Yeah, we did that this past semester. We gave, as far as I know, any student that needed them, they were able to kind of check them out and work with them. And I don't see any reason why we would not do that again. That's what they're there for. They're there for the students. And they've already been, they're paid for, they're there, that's what they're for. So I don't anticipate that changing.
Okay. So Brother Edward, you and I were talking about that a little bit earlier today. The households that do not have any type of technology other than their cell phones, whether or not, it would be a challenge. And I know that our guest on the network live, Joy Bonds, was talking about her initiative to provide at least 10 families with computers. So, what I'm hearing is that the students will have some type of device that they can use. It's just the main challenge is the internet access or the Wi-Fi access to use them. Is that correct?
The way I understand it, yes. But again, that would be, I would make sure that I contacted my child's school and the principal to make certain that those devices are going to be available when they're needed. Also, they had, and this is some of the stuff that's in this task force information as well. I'm sorry. You have to sign it out and be responsible for it, and you also have to turn it back in. Like we used to get books back in the day. You signed it out, you used it, and then you signed it back in, and if there was something wrong with it, you've written it up, you had to pay for it, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. So the question has come up.
Just a brief question.
Okay.
You didn't talk about cost yet. Has there been any estimated cost between the three options, that the school is considering? Which is the most economical and which is probably the most costly?
I would not know how to answer that.
Costly for the parent or for the district?
For the school board's budget breaking into the school board's budget. I mean, is that?
Well, the thing is,
the cost doesn't even come into play. I mean, it's just you have to do what you have to do. So.
Well, the devices
have CARES Act money. Yeah.
Yeah, we got CARES Act money, and that CARES Act money is supposed to be available to help to take care of anything that may be popping up around the coronavirus. Like we have to do additional cleaning, or we might have to do additional signage or security or whatever it is. That CARES Act money could be used for that.
Right.
And we've got some flexibility in how we could use it, but we've already budgeted money for the computers and the devices. They're already paid for, so that's already spent. It's gone. And because when you have virtual, you're not in the building, so you have some like energy savings.
Yeah.
But on the other side, you have more expense for other things like we're providing food to everybody out in the community. So I think it kind of balances out.
Right.
I do have a question that's related to the virtual learning. I think that's the part that, a lot of people are completely, concerned about because we already know what the in-person traditional format looks like, but the virtual format is a little bit different. And as we've established, different from e-learning as well. So one viewer has said or asked, comment question, Senator Henry graded Horry County virtual learning D or D+. Do you agree with the analysis? And have you all looked at that, how virtual learning, how effective it is in our county?
I have not seen that, and I have not seen that grade. And I don't know what what the questions are, what his analysis, what is he analyzing? Mm-hmm. Is he analyzing participation of all students from kindergarten or, childhood development up to seniors? Is he doing it based on how many hours a day they were online? Is he doing it based on the grades that they received? What is the analysis based on? Mm-hmm. So, if I don't know what the analysis is based on, I don't know if I can agree or disagree with the grade. Yeah. I will say that I think there are some students who did not participate as they would have if they were in class. I'll say that happened, and they're working now to make sure that teachers and students are on board and that does not happen. Mm-hmm. That you're going to be held accountable. Even if you're at home in your PJs, you still got to do the work.
Right.
So I think we've kind of learned some things from the first little episode, and I think going forward it's going to be, if we do virtual, it's going to be very different and people are going to be held accountable. Mm-hmm.
Last week when Mr. Brown was on, he talked about the fact that there are a lot of seemingly subcommittees that are working on each aspect of this reopening plan. One of the main areas of concern, of course, would be the safety precautions when it comes down to the COVID protocol. And there is a question about that. What is the protocol when COVID-19 cases are discovered in the schools? Is that a part of what you all are reviewing as well?
Yeah, yes. And we've received a lot of questions on that. What we're going to do is like I said in the beginning, we're working with the DHEC, South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. They control, we're going to follow their guidelines. They have guidelines set that we have to follow based on what shows up and how it shows up. So first and foremost, whatever the DHEC guidelines are, that's what we're going to have to do. At some point, let's say worst case scenario, everything is going to have to be cleaned in there as much as you possibly can. And then at some point, you would have to bring in, I don't even know what you call it, but it's like you're just killing everything in there, like any microorganisms or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the number one thing is we have to follow DHEC guidelines.
Okay. There's a question, and I don't know if you know the answer entirely, but it does involve the distribution of the CARES Act money. Will the money from the government actually pay for internet service for communities that need internet? Is that something that can be considered?
I think it could be considered. But I was trying to remember what was in the report about the CARES Act money. I know it can be used for cleaning supplies and anything to clean and that type stuff, but I don't know if it can be used for that.
The infrastructure type stuff.
I don't know. And I would hate to answer it positively because I just don't know. I don't.
Okay, all right. There's also a question about whether or not the survey that was taken took into account the thoughts and feelings of the teachers. How did you all review that information?
Yeah, surveys were sent to teachers as well, to my knowledge. Let me make sure I'm remembering correctly. Because, teachers, they have students, their children are students too. So their opinion matters. So as far as I know, those surveys, the teachers' opinions were taken into consideration.
And when it comes down to classroom preparation, I know that there are some special areas that are also, very concerning right now, and particularly the special education areas, students who have your 504 plans and things of that nature. So has the school board actually had discussions about how those special cases will be handled if it becomes a virtual learning situation?
We have not had that discussion per se, but it has been a question that's come up to us. And what we have found, the answers that the school district gives us is that any students who like we've got special education students that may have be subject to dispensing bodily fluids. Those people who are working with those type students will be wearing PPE, protective equipment, and they will be given like gloves, gowns, masks, or whatever. If they can't afford it for themselves, that will be provided. So precautions are considered, especially for the severe cases like that, and they have measures in place, and they have the PPE and all of that in place as well.
Okay, all right. Well, Brother Edward, do you want to go to another break, or do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any question. I think your callers, and your viewers have come in with some very good questions.
Excellent.
Oh yeah,
Really?
our viewers are like Janet says, anyone who has a child in school, in secondary school, is definitely interested in the plans. They want to know more, and we're just trying to open up that conversation, bringing your questions and your comments about the school start. And I know that a lot of it probably sounds like you've heard it all before, but what I'm hearing is we only have a date. We still don't have a clear-cut plan of how we're going to do it exactly, meaning specifically, right. But in general, parents need to prepare for either a virtual learning environment, which is probably going to be the first phase in of the reopening plan. And then as the numbers taper off and you guys are feeling comfortable, meaning the school district and the Board of Education, then you'll start to phase in to more in-person options and things of that nature. So there's, after today, the only thing that I think parents need to really do, and I might be speaking, out of turn or whatever, but now that you know what you know, it's time to prepare. It's time to figure out what you need. You know how Walmart has those checklists for all the school supplies that they give people every single year? Well, parents need to now develop their checklist for what they're going to need in order to logistically handle a virtual learning environment should it come to that, and forever how long. I mean, the virtual learning environment could actually be in place until the end of the semester or until the end of the season or the end of this year. And, going into 2020, hopefully things will look a little bit better. But, the reality of it all is that we're getting ready to bump into cold and flu season. The numbers are not tapering off. We still have now school's supposed to open September 8th. We have to get through Labor Day first. And we probably haven't even seen numbers from, we're starting to see numbers from, we probably are going to start seeing numbers from July 4th. So that there's so much that we all have to think about. And now's the time to just, get into preparation mode versus I don't know what they're doing. Well, now you do know what they're doing, that you just don't know specifically how they're going to handle every single thing. And yeah, I guess we have
Because
to
we
kind of.
don't know. I mean, we don't know. And anybody that tells you that they know for sure, I would, give them the side eye because we simply don't know. We're gathering data. Everybody's gathering data. We're in a wait and see pattern, and we're like they say, we're praying for the best and preparing for the worst. So that's what we do. We strategize and we plan and we prepare and try to be as ready as we can, but we don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Well, we do have more questions that are coming in, and I know that they're going to marinate on what I just said for just a few minutes. So, Brother Edward, let's go to another commercial and then come back and do some other good stuff. And we're going to continue the conversation. We hope that you all stick around. You good with that?
April, do we want to dwell on our Black History moment afterward?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
We can do that?
Yeah,
but
we can make it.
I tell you, our Board of Education is spitting out some information that kind of hard to get away from. You know what I mean?
And it's hard to digest because
no, it's easy to digest, but it's hard to want to get away from now with our viewers and everybody.
Yeah, so, I say hard to digest because I think people tuning in want to hear something specific and solid, and at this point, there's nothing solid. Right. And I'm thinking in terms of timelines. As far as the number of weeks we have until school actually starts, and how, I guess the main question for Janet as we come out of the Black History moment is, how easy will it be to just transition into whatever plan is approved, and whether or not things are in place to just push the button whenever we're ready to go. Okay, so we'll be right back. Having problems with your vehicle? For quick, prompt, and courteous service, call Snag and Drag Towing. Gregory Graham will make sure that you're taken care of right away. 843-997-0751. That's Snag and Drag Towing Service at 843-997-0751. If you're looking for flowers for any occasion, the Daisy Fair Flowers is here to help you. They offer an enormous selection of flowers, gift baskets, and live plants for delivery in Conway, South Carolina. Serving Conway since 1980, the Daisy Fair Flowers, 1400 4th Avenue in Conway, or call 843-248-7222. You may also visit the web at thedaisyfairflowers.com. Looking for a full-service funeral home with a broad array of services? Look no further than McKeever Funeral Home at 1408 Race Path Avenue in Conway, South Carolina. They offer a wide variety of services, including traditional funerals, memorial services, and graveside ceremonies. You can reach them anytime, day or night, at 843-248-2706. That's 843-248-2706. McKeever Funeral Home in Conway, South Carolina. George L. Williams Jr. is CEO and licensed funeral director. Support the party that supports you. Vote for your own interests and those of your community. The choice is clear. Horry County Democratic Party. Take a stand. Register to vote 2020. This advertisement is paid for by the Horry County Democratic Party. Sister Joelle, are you ready for our Black History moment?
Of course. And I am so happy to be a part of this conversation and what you all are doing today. And I just want to give a shout out to the bright and beautiful Sister Janet Graham and thanking her for just really working with our children. So I just want to share a brief moment with you because I want to continue hearing what plans we have for our children and parents in the fall. So just keep doing what you're doing, Sister Janet, and we are going to support you in so many ways. So briefly today, I'm not going to get into everything that I want to share with our audience, but I do want to just give a shout out for Sister Marjorie McIver, Sister April, Sister Jannar, and all of the ones who are trying to help our children to get a summer job program started, as well as getting them involved in understanding Black history. This moment in Black history will continue, and we hope that when they do return in the school year, whether it's virtual or in class, that they will have a better understanding of what we're going through today. So I'm going to just give it back to Sister Janet, continue to answer the questions that our viewers would like to hear as much as you possibly can. And next week, we will start with, again, another moment in Black history. God bless you all. Thank you.
Do you need to complete your diploma or get your GED? Stop putting your future on hold. Contact the Horry County Adult Education Centers today. With 2 offices in Conway and Myrtle Beach, you'll be well on your way to a new career. The Conway Education Center is at 843-488-6200, or the Myrtle Beach Family Learning Center is at 843-839-5400. You can also visit the website at hcae.horrycountyschools.net. Heating unit not working? Need answers right away? Call Quick Services Heating and Air Conditioning for comfort in a hurry. Quick Services Heating and Air LLC is the right choice for you. Call Kenya and Nina Keith at 843-488-1492. Residential or commercial financing available. You can also visit their website at www.quickserviceshvac.com. That's KWIK serviceshvac.com. Quick Services Heating and Air LLC, the right choice for you. Serving Horry County for over 79 years, Palmetto Chevrolet in downtown Conway has just what you need to find new roads. Come through and browse, make your selection, and find new roads right away. Palmetto Chevrolet, 1122 4th Avenue, downtown Conway. You can also visit palmettochevrolet.com or call the service center at 843-248-4283. Palmetto Chevrolet, find new roads. Matthew and Beatrice Rue left a rich legacy of funeral home services in the capable hands of Atu and Tammy Williams. Ocean View Funeral Homes and Cremation Services, with 2 chapels serving the Horry County area. They offer full-service funeral and cremation services with no hidden fees. Call for details. The Conway Chapel is 843-248-5376. The Myrtle Beach Chapel is 843-916-8929. They offer affordable, professional, and caring full-service packages. Ocean View Funeral Homes and Cremation Services.
We're back.
We are back, Brother Edward. And first of all, we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and sticking around for another edition of Whittemore Community Magazine Live. Of course, we're talking with special guest Janet Graham, Horry County School District Board of Education member, District 7. She's answering your questions tonight regarding the reopening of school. It's a continuation of our conversation that we started last week with Darryl Brown from the Horry County School District. And we're going to get back to those questions in just a moment in this conversation. But I do have a couple of things that I want to make everyone aware of as far as some happenings and other programs that could benefit a lot of our youth in the area. And also, families or anyone who wants this information. So Educate Our Youth, of course, is the Mamie Keith and Aline Bradley Educational Foundation that was founded by Janet Keith Thompson. Every week, they host an actual spotlight, whether it's a virtual college tour or some type of specific topic related to college and career readiness, but also community mentoring. And this week, as a matter of fact, tomorrow at 7 p.m., the Educate Our Youth program that airs on Facebook will feature Jerome Bellamy of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity. And he's going to talk about the Kappa League, the mentoring that the Kappa League organization does as far as community mentoring for Black males. And then also Kenny Jenneret He's a member of 100 Black Men. He will also be a guest on that particular show. So we want to make sure to support Educate Our Youth. Tune in tomorrow here on Facebook at 6 p.m. and you'll hear more about those organizations and how you can get your Black male students, youth involved. Then on July 30th, the West Foundation, which, as you know, was founded by Everett Sands, is hosting a financial literacy webinar here on Facebook as well. And that's on Thursday, July 30th at 7 p.m. There's going to be a number of special guests that are featured for that particular event. We actually have joining us for that webinar, Sherlyn DeWitt of Annalise Financial and Consulting Services. We have Doug Stewart, who is one of the Two Live Stews. And I know that you all have probably heard of the Two Live Stews. Doug Stewart is a sports radio host, but also the owner of a financial services business that partners with New York Life in the Metro Atlanta area. He will also be a guest on that show. Billy Beal, who is a former CEO and board member of Union Bank Shares, as well as Erica Davis of Guild Mortgage out of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The panelists will talk about everything under the sun that has to do with money management and budgeting your personal finances for success. So you'll want to tune in on Thursday, July 30th for that particular webinar that's hosted by the West Foundation. And if you want more information about either of those two programs, you can always check their Facebook pages out. Again, that's Educate Our Youth for the Black Male Mentoring Program on tomorrow, and then the West Foundation for the financial services webinar, financial literacy webinar on this coming Thursday. I want to bring your attention to the 100 Days till November 3rd. This is a program that is actually being sponsored by Palmetto Missionary Baptist Church. And the premise of this particular program is to commit to registering 9 people to vote in November, getting 9 people to the polls and 9 people to complete the census. So they're going to begin a 90-day fasting and prayer vigil starting on August the 3rd. And she says, if the Lord leads you, and we want you all to participate, but mainly to push people to be registered to vote or to become registered to vote, and also to go to the polls on November 3rd. It's one thing to register, it's another thing to actually go to the polls and cast your vote. And then also, please complete the census. I can't stress that enough. I've completed my census a long time ago. I think it probably took me took less than 5 minutes to actually complete the census survey. And you'll want to do that because the data that they gather from the census is used to determine what's actually allocated to communities in terms of federal funds, and also, government programs, things that actually support our communities. So if you don't complete the census, they won't know what our community needs. And as far as I know, I think the last statistic that I heard about completion of the census was that African Americans only comprise about, I know it's less than 30% of the completed census surveys at this point. And so if we don't let them know who we are, where we are, and what we need, we will not have funding for our community. So please go to the U.S. Census site and complete that census as soon as possible. I also want to let you know that the Association for the Betterment of Bucksport and another entity that is putting together the Eddy Lake Cemetery Restoration Project will be on the Whittemore Community Magazine next Monday. Kevin Mishu, Ms. Mary Owens, and Frankie Weaver will be on the Whittemore Community Magazine next week to talk about this cemetery restoration project. There is an enormous amount of history that's tied to that particular cemetery project, and they're currently looking for volunteers to help them clean the area, and also to document information that they're finding on a lot of the tombstones and the footstones. And of course, we'll have these three individuals, Kevin Mishu, Mary Owens, and Frankie Weaver, as our special guests on the Whittemore Community Magazine next Monday night at 7 p.m. So you don't want to miss that. Frankie Weaver is actually going to talk about the Juneteenth celebration that's being planned for the dedication of that cemetery. So that's kind of when they're planning for that dedication, is around that time. And you definitely want to know more about all of the activities that they have planned, but even more so about the historical nature of this cemetery and all of the things that they found as far as the families that are connected to that cemetery. And we're talking about our ancestors who were enslaved and buried in this particular cemetery. And then, of course, the Whittemore Community Magazine has a special program this summer. It's our 2020 Summer Enrichment Literacy Initiative that we have launched. And of course, you have seen the flyer all over Facebook, and we've sent it out to several people. I understand that we've probably gotten some registrations in already, but it's a great summer reading initiative that begins on August the 8th. And we're going to study the book Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. And Brother Edward, if you don't mind, I have just a really quick clip to play that kind of sets the stage for what we will be discussing with our teens.
All right.
All right, let's do it.
See what goes on.
Okay.
Ghost Boys is about a young man named Jerome who's playing with a toy gun one winter day, and the policemen suspect that it's a real gun. And they roll up onto the playground and they shoot him, and he bleeds out and dies. But that's just the beginning, because Jerome doesn't disappear. He remains on Earth as a ghost, and he's met by another ghost, Emmett Till, another young black boy who was murdered in America in the 1950s. And Emmett Till, with Jerome, says, "You're here to do something. You're here to bear witness. You're here to help make a difference in the world." And they actually encounter Sarah. And Sarah is the policeman's daughter, the young girl who knows that her father did something terribly wrong, but doesn't know what to do about it. And Jerome and Emmett tell Sarah their stories. And Sarah becomes an activist, a person who becomes part of the change to make the world a better place. She becomes a fighter against racism, against prejudice, against bias. She becomes a fighter for social justice. And Jerome and Emmett, they disappear, wandering the streets until they meet another soul that's open to the idea that they have the power to change, to consider people by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin.
Wow,
And so it's pretty compelling, isn't it?
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Sister Jill was going to, she got some information on that also, but we'll wait another time. Okay, but that's a heavy topic. Okay,
It really is. Yeah.
it's a heavy topic.
And it's a great book. It's a very quick read. I believe that book is probably about just a little over 200 pages. You can actually get the book on Amazon. I purchased the book on Thursday, and it was here on a Saturday. It was only about $6.80 or something to that effect. The participants will need a copy of that book in order to participate in the program. And so basically, we're going to read and discuss the book during the 4 weeks in August, 4 Saturdays in August. We will talk to the students about, or the teens, about what we have learned from the book, the storyline, how it relates to things that are going on right now, things that have happened. Of course, the Emmett Till story. And if you follow even that little description, you'll realize that character was shaped after Tamir Rice. And so we'll talk about how all of that is relevant now, especially in light of the George Floyd situation that we had to deal with, while we were dealing with the coronavirus situation. we're going to, be able to talk to the students and discuss with them some very powerful themes. So there's racism, there's gun violence, there's bullying, justice, friendship, grief, compassion, remembering the past, and, learning from the lessons of the past and how those lessons can hopefully change people to want to do better by their fellow man. And, there's, all of the characters basically were developed to create empathy in terms of how everyone views every other person that they encounter. And I think that a lot of times we're missing that in society. And so adding history to this actual story is what will hopefully motivate people to understand, the things that go on in society that demonize people, but that also could possibly change people if they are willing to open up and embrace empathy for one another. So we, as a part of the plan, we will meet with the students on August the 8th and talk about the book and begin that discussion. And then from there, over the next couple of weeks, they will work on a few activities that we have planned for them. So they'll have a little bit of a homework assignment, but we promise it'll be fun. And then by the end of August, there will be a special project that they will complete and have to present. And so anyone who's interested in signing up their teenager ages 13 to 17 can go to the Whittemore Community Magazine's website. The registration form is there. It is a free program. I didn't mention that part, but it's free, FREE, period, free program. And you can go to wcmagazine.net, fill out the registration form, and all of the registration forms will be gathered by Ms. Marjorie McIver so that we can coordinate the program. And if you have any questions, you can certainly ask us. You can ask through that website or either ask me here on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to give you more information. But the great thing about it, aside from the students getting these powerful lessons, at the end of the program, they'll get a certificate of completion for their commitment to this summer enrichment. And also there's going to be a monetary gift that will be given to each participant, but space is limited. This is a virtual program, which means that we're going to actually host this program via Zoom. So there's really no reason why you can't participate. We don't have to worry about social distancing or anything. We're doing it via Zoom, but you have to sign up. We haven't set a deadline for that. I guess we have to see what the reception is going to be, whether or not everybody's going to be running to try and get a registration. But if it were me, I would, especially for just the enrichment and the lessons that are going to come from these discussions. So again, if you'll check Facebook, I'm going to show you the flyer real quick, but this is the flyer that you'll look for. And it's called Ghost Boys. You can get a copy of this book on Amazon. And someone asked me today whether or not the young people need to go ahead and read the book. Of course, they can go ahead and read the book if they want to just kind of, get ahead of the game, but they'll have plenty of time to read the book before we complete that actual program.
Well, we're going to have some good results on that, April.
I think so.
Yeah, I think our youth are going to like that. But April, look, we got some, just one very, very important announcement regarding our felons, people who are labeled as felons in the state of South Carolina, and some good information on possibility of expungement of their records. Okay, so here it is. It's from the Ministry of Hope, and they are going to be hosting two virtual expungement and pardon clinics in partnership with the South Carolina Legal Services. So. And these clinics will be held on Thursday, August 6th, which is next Thursday, I believe, and Saturday, August 8th. The one at August 6th is at 6 p.m. And on Saturday, August 8th at 11 a.m. The attendees are invited to learn detailed information about the expungement and pardon process in the state of South Carolina. And they'll have the opportunity to pose any questions to these legal experts. And this is going to be critical and vital, okay? Because this impacts the voting capability of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And so the Ministries of Hope, which is the host, they're going to pay 100% of the legal processing fees for all these eligible participants. Okay, I'll say that again. They're going to pay 100% of the legal processing fees. Okay, so the clinics are targeted toward residents of Horry and Georgetown counties, and the expungement and pardon information the pardon information and funding are applicable to South Carolina criminal records only. Okay, I'll say that again. It's applicable to South Carolina criminal records only. Okay, the clinics are free and open to the public. No registration is required. So the participants, they can join the clinic by visiting, I can't type it up now, but it's www.Ministries of Hope, South Carolina. Okay, www.ministriesofhopesc.org. Okay, I'll say it again. www.ministriesofhopesc.org. This is critical. It's very important, and it's / is expungement when you get to that website. Okay, all right, and if you need some verbal information, I think I was sent. Part of the host is the Ministries of Hope. I think this is under, in fact, I'm sure under Reverend Joseph Washington. Okay, he and a clerical forum are hosting this, and you can call. I'm giving you this number to call. He didn't say go ahead to do that, but there is no other number to call. So some people just may not be able to navigate the website. So you can call this number 843-446-5879. Can you give him a call, and you can go from there. But please go to that website. And I thought this was ever so critical. Again, this impact our voting in South Carolina.
Well, we'll post this. Right. We'll post this information to the Whittemore Community Magazine's Facebook page and other associated social media pages, and also on our website, so that you can have that information easily available.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's get back into the conversation. Ms. Janet, you okay over there? I think you're muted.
Sorry.
All right. That's okay.
I got something hot off the press. Dr. Maxey just sent an update from DHEC today. It came tonight on what South Carolina's numbers look like. And all of South Carolina is in the high zone. Horry County is basically high in every area except for incidence percentage or something like that. But so for me, I don't see a face-to-face traditional experience right now, unless things, like we say, plummet and go down a lot significantly. So that should be posted on the website as well, the DHEC report, the updated report.
That was breaking news.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Here first.
Exactly. We heard it first here. Exactly. So
every county in Horry is high. Every county in the state is high.
Well, thank you for that update, Janet. And we'll get back to just a few more questions that our viewers have posted. And then we'll, start to wrap this up. We try to keep the shows at like an hour, 15 minutes. But hey, when the conversation gets good, we have to keep going. So, but one question that came in was about PPEs for teachers. Will the district provide PPEs for teachers and staff?
I believe I saw something in some of my information that they will be provided masks. I don't know if they'll be provided anything else, but I know that depending on the grade level that you're having, and whether you have to have lunch and all that stuff in your classroom, they're going to be providing a way to sanitize everything. So I feel confident that if it's necessary and needed, and a teacher cannot provide it for themselves, or they need something else, that we would be able to entertain that and or provide it.
Okay. There's a pretty interesting question that's come in as well about accountability when it comes to students and their education. Is there any talk of plans to create, I don't want to say, well, the question is consequences, but how will we hold students accountable for their education or a lack thereof?
I think it would be a lot different going forward than it was in the past, because we learn from our mistakes if we're smart, And I think that we've learned what not to do and how to make things better. So from what some of the questions that had come in already from across the county and what the task force and the district office are saying that they're going to do, it's going to be a lot more stringent than it has been, and they're going to hold students and teachers accountable.
Mm-hmm.
What about parents?
Well, always accountable.
Yeah.
Right?
I think teachers, parents, students.
Yeah. Everybody, we all have a part to play. And even though this is different, I don't want to say the new normal. Everybody's saying the new normal. We've got to get into that sweet spot where we realize if we're doing virtual, you've still got to do the hard work. You got to do the work. Just because you're at home doesn't mean that you can play all day and watch TV. There's still work that has to be done. I've been working from home since March. And, I've had to adapt and pivot and do things differently, but I've done more work from home than I probably ever did at my office.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So no, it's true. I mean, and I don't know what it is.
No disruptions.
You say that again?
No disruptions.
Yeah, few distractions. And we are working a lot harder from at home. And when we had the teens on, this was a couple of months ago on the network live, and we were talking to them about their routine. And some of the teenagers, and there's a variety of students on the show, but some of the students talked about how they're starting their day later instead of staying, connected to their regular routine. And I think that that's what also sets them up for frustrations and, for lack of a better term, failure if they don't establish a regimen and stick to it. Like you said, it's not a vacation. It's not a time to just chill. You have to really. And I asked one student, I said, so, what time are you expected to be at school? Or, what time does school start? And she said, around 8:20 or so. Okay, so, what time do you normally get up for that? And we kind of went through the timeline. And I said, so if you're getting up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're already behind the 8 ball because you've lost 4 hours that you could have, used towards your instruction or your homework or whatever it is you're supposed to be working on. So I think, parents have to hold their kids to the fire as far as making sure that they have a good regimen. And that's going to be particularly hard because, as we know, a lot of people are being required to report back to work. And so there's going to be that balancing act that can be very difficult for parents at this time because they can't stay home and just watch everything that their kids do, especially the teenagers who are able to stay home, on their own or whatever. But I don't know, it's going to be quite a shift, and people are going to have to adapt and adjust to this type of learning until God knows when. And so that's why, we were making the point earlier that now's the time to prepare. Sit down with your family and come up with a game plan for how you're going to tackle this as far as the virtual learning is concerned. What do you need? Who do you need to contact? Do you have all of the information? And if there's some teachers who are watching, please chime in and let us know if you've had these types of conversations with parents already. I know that you're not back in school, but I'm sure that some of you have personal connections to parents. And if they aren't having those conversations with you, or at least reaching out in some form or fashion, now's the time to do it, because September 8th will be too late.
Yes,
so, we have one person who says, yes, students need to have a daily planned routine. And this is true. And that's students at every level, even college students. I'm in higher education. So, they need to have it, in order to stay on course, stay focused, and succeed. So, Janet, is there any other information that you want to share with us? Anything that you want us to know as far as the reopening plan? I hope that our viewers have taken away some good nuggets from this. I think that you've given us a good perspective from the school board's vantage point. Did a good job of explaining the protocol and the hierarchy and how it all kind of rolls from the top or rises to the top, however you want to look at it. But I think that the main thing that people need to understand is that even though Somebody says, yes, it's a good time. Thank you, Wilbur Spain. This is a good time to bond with your children. And it is, you know, the reconnection. But, you know, is there anything that you want us to know and that the school board, you know, wants to just encourage parents to do?
Yeah, I'd like to say it's a good time to bond with your teacher and your principal and your school as well. And just because we're maybe virtual, it doesn't mean that we're separate. So it's still a good time to kind of find a way to get to really know the entities that are going to be working with your children. Everybody on the school board, we're all looking for the same thing. Children need to be in school. We know that. We want them back in school. They want to go back to school. Parents want them back in school. But first and foremost, we have got to do what makes sense for the time that we're in. And we've got to make sure that we send them to a safe environment and that everything is secure. That's number one. That's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that. It's just that sometimes politics gets involved and, you know, we lose our minds. So we're going to pray that we all do the right thing. And we thank you for your support. And I saw all the chat over here. People were giving answers that I didn't have. I like that because I don't know anything. I'm not trying to.
Well, they're researching. They're doing their research too.
Thank you.
That's what we want them to do.
An email with some Florence information. Thank you. Because I don't know. A lot of stuff I don't know. A lot of stuff I do know. But we're all in it together, as they say. So we're going to make it together. And we're not going to be divided and fall. We're going to stick together and we're going to make this thing work.
And hopefully everyone will follow the science.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Everyone will follow the science when making the decisions.
Yes.
You know, just briefly, I think with the combination of what was presented last week, April, the information from Brother Darrell, and this week from Sister Janet P.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've dispensed some, made sure that some very fruitful information and very critical information has been dispensed over the past couple of programs, and I'm just hopeful that people are really taking these loads of information and digesting them and acting upon them. Okay, because it's critical, and I just appreciate both. You know, about one from from the district office and from the Board of Education. You know, with the information, that kind of information. I mean, it's just really magnanimous. You know, and it should be very, very critical, especially our parents and our teachers and our students. You know, so I'm just hopeful that it's been gotten in, that's been digested, so we can have a very fruitful opening for our Horry County Public Schools. I think that's important. It's critical.
Absolutely.
And parents, don't be afraid to give your input. While the decisions we haven't really solidified any decisions as of yet. Like she says, you have a date. Discussions are still happening. So raise your voices, let them know, because once the plan is approved, we got to roll with it pretty much, you know, until something changes that. And so we can't afford to sit back and not say anything, even if it's a concern that is something that does not have an answer right now, or, you know, that we can't answer right now. At least the school board and the school district, they understand your position and your thoughts. So, you know, she has opened up the floor for you to contact the district, to go to the website, to, you know, post your questions or what have you, because I'm sure that there are entities that are watching. And we are working on having more updates after August the 3rd, once the school district has had a chance to submit their plan and get approvals and all of that. So stay tuned, and hopefully during that time, we'll have a more concrete information that can be shared with everyone. But until then, yes, please send your information in. And Janet, since you are representing the constituents of District 7, how can they be in touch with you if they want to pose their questions to you?
They can send it to Janet Graham at HorryCountySchools.net. If they can't remember that, just simply go to the website and go to the Board of Education, and all of our contact information is there. Very easy. And again, just remember that when you go on Facebook and you rant and rave, that's not necessarily getting your voice heard by the entities that need to hear it. If you want to be heard, you need to go to the source. So the chairman has a Facebook page. Write some comments there, or send the board, all of us, an email and tell us what your thoughts are and what you'd like to see happen. Or if it's in your district and you just want me to know, or whoever, send it to us. But a rant on Facebook doesn't necessarily get you, I think, where you want to be or where you need to be.
All right. Brother Edward, your closing remarks?
I just gave them.
That's it.
I just gave them. I can't read more right now, but just the criticality of the decision that has to be made, and what the Janet has said already. Couldn't be more critical for people to help to make decisions on and act upon. So thank her very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it. Y'all made me sweat, but thank you.
We didn't make you sweat. The viewers made you sweat.
It's all good.
That's their job. That's their job. Yeah, they're doing a fine job, but we really do appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us and supporting the Whittemore Community Magazine Live. We really do appreciate it. Remember, if you've missed portions of this broadcast, it will be available on YouTube, the entire broadcast, as well as on the Whittemore Community Magazine's page. And also, if you are connected to any of my pages, my personal page, the network, or Horry Black Community United, you can certainly watch the broadcast there as well. But again, we do appreciate everyone for being here tonight. Remember, join us next week. We will have Kevin Mishu, Mary Owens, and Frankie Weaver to talk about the Edie Lake Cemetery project in Bucksport. And it's going to be great historical information that you don't want to miss. So thank you all so very much.
Ms. Owens, she's going to have some.
I cannot believe that Ms. Owens agreed to be on a live stream. Can you believe that?
She's icon
number one.
She's going to have some information. I tell you, she's going to, please listen in. All of our viewers today and more. Just tell everybody she's going to have some information that really is really critical.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. It tells a lot about our history, how deep our history runs in Horry County. I'm telling you.
And Brother Kevin is working right there. He's doing an awesome job too.
Bucksport's going to learn a lot about Bucksport if they don't. Know.
Oh yeah.
They don't already know. So again, thank you all for staying with us so late tonight. We appreciate it, and we'll see you all next week, next Monday at 7 p.m.
Bye.
All right.
God bless.
God bless.
Thank you.
Taking